Hello again. I'm your dragon writer, Ricardo Chévere, author of Dragons, a fantasy adventure novel about the ever-raging war between human mages and the dragons of the world. Today, I continue reading to you from the first chapter of the first book of the series, Dragons. The first book, The Essential Ties, and the first chapter, A Frightening Night. I will pick up on the very last line I read to you before. Ivan also heard a loud, angry roar he could recognize. It was the dragon's roar. He finally made it to his house, his heart beating out of control. Almost without a breath left in him, he called his wife to open the door. He heard the door's wooden bars being moved from the inside, and the door opened. "Adriana, where is Boris?" He came in yelling at his wife, sounding like a madman and rushing by her side, looking for their son. "He is here, Ivan. What's happening?" She answered with the fear of knowing that something was terribly wrong. But he didn't answer, as he desperately picked up Boris from the floor and held him to his chest. "We have to go now!" "Where are we going? Ivan, tell me!" Adriana's desperation grew as she ran out of the house after her husband without getting a straight answer from him. He continued running with his son in his arms, who was now crying because of the chaos and the rush of things happening all around him. But while running, he tried to explain to his wife as he gasped for air. "We must go to the church. Only there will we be safe from the demon dragon." The strange bird sounds and the dragon roars were loud and sounded very near. They couldn't see anything in the darkness of night. Just a few steps ahead of them on the dirt road from the dim light of the oil lamp, something sounded like a burst of fire, and the cries of what they imagined to be some sort of a bird were heard as if it were burning alive. But they kept running, and finally they came to a clearing where a tall, old stone church stood. They were running toward the huge wooden front doors of the church when their path was cut by a huge dragon that landed right in front of them. The ground shook with the weight of the mammoth dragon. Now, because of the lights in the front of the church, Ivan could see the entire shape, texture, and color of the beast. It was about 2.5 men tall, up to his front shoulders when standing on its 4 legs, but its neck stretched out and up higher than the rest of its body. Its body was covered with brown scales, about the same color of the rocks from the stone forest, but the underside of its neck was a pale yellow. These yellow scales seemed to continue down to its belly, and probably all the way to its tail, which ended in a thicker point that looked like a club or cudgel with what looked like bone spikes. Ivan got a good look at its wings, thick, wide, and with the same brown color of the scales. They spanned perpendicularly from its body for about the same length of the whole dragon itself. The head of the dragon was full of horns. There were about 10 of them, in different sizes, with the largest ones toward the back. The snout was short, but while it growled, Ivan's family caught a glimpse of the many teeth it had in its mouth. "Go back to your home," the dragon shouted in its growling voice. But as it approached them, they heard the strange bird-like sounds quickly coming closer, and another strange figure fell from the sky, landing on the dragon's neck, taking it down to the ground. With one of its claws, the dragon pulled the creature off its neck and smashed it on the ground right in front of all of them. The dragon then took a quick but deep breath, and although it seemed as if it was just blowing air, a burst of fire came out of its mouth and lit the fallen creature in flames. 2 more creatures landed on the dragon's back and made it fall to the side. Ivan didn't waste 1 second and made it to the church doors. Adriana began to knock, hitting the doors as hard as she could with her hands, trying to make enough noise so someone would open them. "Please, open up, Father!" Her voice trembled in fear and desperation as she screamed. Ivan was doing the same. As she continued to call for help, Adriana looked back at the battle that was still raging right in front of the big church. She was able to take a good look at the bird-sounding creatures, and to her amazement, she recognized them. They were gargoyles, pretty much like the ones on the rooftop edges of the building they were about to enter. Men-like creatures with wings like bats. They had faces like men with bird beaks and long ears. They had claws in their hands and feet, and a demon-like tail ending in what looked like an arrow tip. On the third part of this video, I will finish reading to you the first chapter of this book. Chapter 1 of Frightening Night, from Dragons, the Essential Ties. May you fly on the wings of dragons.